On today's show, KB and I recap, rehash, and review WandaVision Season 1, streaming only on Disney+. We also discuss some other future series, both Marvel and Star Wars, that will be dropping soon on Disney+. So join us, will you, as we review Season 1 of WandaVision and posit what it may spell out for the rest of the MCU in the future, here on Free Your Geek.
By the power of Grayskull,
You have failed this city. Traumatize. Go.
Winter is coming.
finish him. Fatality.
And welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free. Joining me, my illustrious co-host, surrounded by pretty much every major Avenger from Endgame, KB. Welcome back to the show.
It's been a few weeks?
It's been a while. I think the last time we kind of reconvened, we talked about the first two episodes of WandaVision. So it's it's probably been like
5 weeks.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, you're gonna call me out already. I'm gonna have to look at my phone to see when that last show was.
No worries.
But yeah, if you want to get specific about it, KB, our last show dropped on January 25th. So we missed the whole month of February. So yeah, it's been about 6 weeks, give or take. But yeah, and that's the reason why we're here, because WandaVision has come to its conclusion. We're going to talk about that.
I'm glad we waited.
Yeah, but first I want to talk about a few different things that are happening right now. So I want to just, in the last episode, we did talk about WWE moving over to Peacock. So it is currently March 9th as of this recording. So I believe it's March 18th. That Peacock will start streaming some of the WWE content. So I guess when you sign into Peacock, the WWE network will have its own little hub, own little area that you could click in.
Kind of like HBO Max with some of the other stuff. How they have all the separate hubs.
Yeah, so I think it would be that. And then I think from what I'm reading, it's not going to be everything all at once. It's not going to be the full catalog. It'll be some of the older stuff right now, but they said by SummerSlam, so by August of this year, all the other stuff should be available, all the back catalog. They're going to keep adding it to Peacock as the months go on.
So are they keeping the streaming service by itself as well?
The network itself?
Yeah.
No. So the network is going to be going away on April 1st. So yeah, you would need a Peacock login if you were going to go that route. Keep in mind, Peacock for the premium with no commercials, I believe, is the same current price of $9.99. But if you don't mind like a 40-second commercial in between some of your programs, the tiered version, the premium version with commercials, is going to be $4.99. And then Peacock has a free version which has commercials. So again, to get all the content, $4.99 a month with commercials. To get all the content with no commercials, $9.99 a month. So if you're a fan of some of the NBC series, such as The Office, Parks and Recreation, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a number of different other NBC reality shows and movies and whatnot, Peacock is the place to be. And on top of that, for $5 less a month, if you don't mind commercials, you can get the WWE Network also. So essentially, you can get WrestleMania this year for $4.99 a month. So that's not too bad. I remember the days where I was paying $59.99 for a pay-per-view.
Or days when it was more.
Right. It's crazy. Well, WrestleMania was like, I think $80 at one time.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that.
So it's just it's kind of good just to again, if you want to check it out, why not? Check out Peacock for $4.99 a month.
The platforms are shifting. They're shifting.
Well, yeah,
it's going to go away.
What do you say that again?
I said the platforms are all shifting to these apps. Cable's going to go away.
I don't necessarily agree with that because I think a lot of live sports, unless you have like an HD antenna, like football, baseball, hockey, I mean, I think like even for our local area, Nesson, I don't think it's available on a lot. I know from a couple people I've talked to have had, I believe it was YouTube TV at one point, and then it was like Fubo. I can't remember all the streaming services, but
I don't know if you could stream through those websites though.
possibly, but I mean, like, think about how difficult that's going to be for, and I don't want to sound ageist, but
Yep.
think about like, our parents, people are our parents' age. Like my dad is a huge hockey fan. He's not going to be looking for a stream, or go to the website. He just wants to turn on his TV, find the channel, and watch hockey, watch the
Or
Bruins.
unless those leagues do streaming apps of their own, they already do the season passes on cable.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, all I know is that my Comcast bill, they actually lowered it by $30 this month. So I guess they're going with a new lower tier price to try to be competitive. Well, or maybe just for me, I don't know, but I don't have that. I don't think I have that type of pull with Comcast or Xfinity. But yeah, it was like $30 less this month. So I was like, all right. And they said, yeah, this is the new reflected price. I'm like, you know what? I'll keep cable then. Might as well for that price. But yeah, so I want to talk about that. I did want to talk about WWE. So WrestleMania is coming up. So I just wanted to put that out there for all fans of wrestling that, hey, get Peacock because it's going to start, I believe, the 18th of March, where you're going to be able to get WWE content. I believe WWE Fastlane will also be on Peacock. So they're going to use it as kind of like a tester. So if you have the network and then you want to get Peacock for $4.99 that month, just to test it out to make sure you can get the pay-per-views on there, I definitely use that time where it's like, I believe it's Fastlane is the name of the pay-per-view.
Yep.
So check that out if you're going to go that route. But KB, I want to talk about something else, and talking about streaming. I'm reading this article. I won't read like the political side of it, but Walt Disney Company today announced that their premium subscription service, Disney Plus, has now surpassed 100 million global paid subscribers. So after just 16 months after its launch, they announced that during the annual meeting of shareholders today. And they just put in this article for comparison. Netflix has just over 203 million paid subscribers as of Q4 2020.
And it's been around forever.
Yes, well, it's not forever, but it's
not forever, but you know what I mean.
It's got the pigeonhole. It's pigeonholed in. It's got the it's grandfathered in, I should say. It was like the first major streaming service.
Yeah, that's years ago. So,
right. Well, it's funny because I remember when Netflix actually used to mail you DVDs before it was streaming, and then you had the option to do dual disc and streaming, and now it's all streaming because cost of operations so much easier to just have a catalog of stuff than mail stuff back and forth. But I just want to point that out because Disney Plus has some stuff coming up. We just finished WandaVision, which we'll get into after the break, but I wanted to just touch base on things that are upcoming. We just saw the end of WandaVision, and starting not this Friday, but the following Friday, which I believe is the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. March 19th, we got a 6-episode series, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Short.
It's short. I don't know how long the episodes are going to be. So by comparison, WandaVision was roughly 30 to 45 minutes per episode for 9 episodes.
I wouldn't even say that because their credits were so long.
True. And we can circle back to that. But I'm saying, what if these are all like 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Or if these are all an hour.
An hour. Kind of like what Mandalorian was like 50 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mandalorian was. And speaking of, we were talking a little bit before we started the show. The other major announcement, I believe it's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, if I'm not mistaken.
Perfect time to release
the new series. The Bad Batch is the animated Lucasfilm series is going to be released on Disney Plus. Now, KB, you're a little bit more familiar with that. So why don't you just give like a quick synopsis of who exactly is the Bad Batch?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Bad Batch is a bad batch of clones that rebelled when Order 66 was issued by Palpatine right after the Clone Wars. That's my feeling on it. It looks pretty good. I'm hoping that what I really want to, what I'm really hoping for is that it has that Rogue One kind of feeling to it, because to me, Rogue One is one of the better Star Wars movies, period. So I'm hoping it kind of has that vibe to it, that Disney doesn't play it too safe.
Well, this is going to be animated in the style of the Clone Wars, I believe. So
Yeah, but
it's going to be an animated series. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be more set in that tone. And, admittedly, I didn't watch any of the animated television shows. I watched.
I didn't really either. I didn't watch too many of them.
Both friends of the show and former co-host the Don would be able to tell us all about it. And also my buddy and former guest of the show, John Botello, JB, would probably be able to talk my ear off about it too, because he's very passionate about the Star Wars franchise. So maybe when that picks up, maybe I'll try to get Don or JB on and talk about like the first episode or whatnot once that comes around. But that's the future. Let's talk about the past. And the more recent past, because we just last week, or last Friday, as of this recording, finished the 9-episode run of WandaVision, and we'll discuss it after this break.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
4041media.com is your one-stop shop for fresh, locally sourced media. In addition to the Free Your Geek podcast, there are a number of informative and entertaining podcasts that you can find at 4041media.com. If you're into movies, check out Movie Theater Time Machine. The cast of Nick, Kaz, Dan, and Jocelyn take a trip through movie history. And if you're more into the murder, mystery, and motive, check out the Psych Your Crime podcast. Host Nicole Mann takes a deep dive into both the how and why people do the terrible things they do. Want to exercise your body and your mind? Join Nick Tabor on Honest Fit Talk with your trainer Nick as he dispels myths, misinformation, and other hurdles to work on your physical and mental health in a safe manner. And do you like sports? How about sports history? Then come on in, sit down for a bit, and let Brian tell you some of the history of the New York Yankees on the historic Pinstripes podcast. And if you're more into the mystical side of life, then join Haley and sometimes Jelly for some tarot card readings and occasional shenanigans on the Moon Tribe Tarot YouTube page. Are you more of a video gamer? Well, 4041 Media is home to a number of different Twitch streamers. Check out Mr. Bojangles 1984 as he grinds his way to becoming a professional streamer. Spoiler warning, he's already pretty damn good at it. Gizmo 508 is all about low-key game streaming. And Reclesis is on his quest for a world record or several on speedrun. And you can also hang out with former guest and occasional co-host of the show, ex-Ms. Black Mamba, as she enters the war zone in Call of Duty. And 4041 Media is growing with more content being added all the time. To listen or watch any of these aforementioned shows, head over to 4041media.com. That's 4041media.com. 4041 Media, fresh, locally sourced media. And welcome back to the Free Your Geek podcast. I'm Jay Free, he's KB, and we're going to be talking about WandaVision. So spoilers, folks. We're going to talk spoiler-filled the entire season 1, which I don't think there's going to be a second season based on the way it ended. But overall, KB, we'll start with you. Just give us overall thoughts on the series as a whole, and then we'll get into the specifics, like maybe per episode or some of the big plot points.
Really, really good. Started a little slow because you didn't know where it was going, and I think those first 2 episodes you had a lot of little clues. And then as we moved along, the clues started getting bigger as to what was happening. We started getting more and more information. Like it was like the information of what was actually going on slowly trickled in. So I think there was a lot of people that might have been turned off by the first couple of episodes, obviously expecting it to be, oh, this is not MCU, blah, 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 blah kind of thing. And you have to hang in there, and you have to appreciate all the little caveats of the whole thing, the shows that they kind of gimmicked off of, and things like that. And then you really have to just be in the story. And the ending was just fantastic. I was completely happy with the ending. I think you get a lot of the hard-nosed source material kind of people. I know I still go to the comic book shop once in a while, and I heard a lot of that of like, oh, it's not this and it's not that, and how many photon jokes can we hear, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, it doesn't have to be the source material. So many people just go to that.
But I think it leaned heavily into a lot of the source material. They're not going to copy it exactly.
Oh
Again,
no, I hear you.
let's talk about, if you want to compare it to some of the MCU stuff, let's compare it to, for example, Civil War. Now, the Civil War comic book played out a lot different than the movie, Captain America Civil War. So it's a little bit, they took pieces of it, some of the speech, Spider-Man, all that, like having a decent part in it, like all of that wasn't necessarily what happened in the comic books, but it still made for a good story. Now, to your point, if you were to take even using Civil War again as the example, we saw the beginning with Tony Stark with his parent, doing the barf technology, playing an old video with his parents and a young Tony Stark and all that fun stuff. That how much of that was set up for the reveal even before that in other movies, with Captain America Winter Soldier, when they went to that base and they saw Armin Zola in the computer, and he's, they put, Stark killed in car crash, and he was talking about Hydra being aware of stuff all along. And then, and I should say spoilers if you haven't seen these movies, because we're going to be talking about that too, everything in the past. But my point overall is, we had set up back in Captain America Winter Soldier about what happened with Stark's parents. Then we saw the slow burn at the beginning of Civil War, all the way to the realization at the end of Civil War, where, hey, it was Bucky, and Cap knew for a while, probably calling back to when he was doing his research, when he saw that Armin Zola headline when he and Black Widow were in the bunker. So to me, those first couple of episodes, if you were to treat it as a movie, that's the first, 45 minutes to an hour of a movie. That's setting everything up. That's starting that slow burn. And then when we get a little bit later, which I believe it's episode 8, which I believe is my favorite episode of the entire season, it shows all of Wanda's backstory from when she was a child, tying in to Age of Ultron, tying in to the end of Age of Ultron, and what we've seen with her in Civil War, her and Vision, actually their romance already budding at that point. And then, just everything else going on. And, the twist at the end when she went to go see Vision's body post Endgame, post returning from the blip, all of that was perfect backstory and really painted like who this character is, why she's feeling that grief that she's going through. And to me, it's like, when you see her there as a kid, that backstory, and her father bringing in all those DVDs, and you can see I Love Lucy, Bewitched, Malcolm in the Middle, I forget what some of the other ones were, Brady Bunch, whatever the case may be, you can see why, like, okay, she's starting back from when she was a kid. Like, she's made this world based on what she thought, was a dream world. Because I believe she even says she's watching Dick Van Dyke in that episode when her parents get bombed or the building explodes and the other Stark missiles sitting there. She's watching Dick Van Dyke, and it so happens to be an episode where Dick Van Dyke has a nightmare, and he wakes up and everything's great. And she even says something along those lines, and I'm not going to even try to mention or paraphrase, but she says, if we just, close our eyes, we wake up, it's all a bad dream. And to paint this world from her grief, I thought it was just so amazing. So amazing. So episode 8 was my favorite, but yeah, I really did enjoy all the different, walks through time. I don't know how it's coming across, but you can see my For Your Geek t-shirt's got a little bit of WandaVision going on. We don't know what reality is. For people listening to the audio, that makes no sense, but I have a green screen, and the green on my For Your Geek logo on the t-shirt is seeping through and getting all messed up. Anyway, the fourth wall is breaking on my shirt. Wanda's affecting my shirt as well. But no, I seriously loved all the callbacks to the older TV shows. Malcolm in the Middle with her kids, The Office and Modern Family right before the end of everything. I think that the trope they used for that, yes, it was different from what you would expect from an MCU movie, but at the same time, we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past. You have Captain America, which is more of a spy, like espionage type movie. You have, Guardians, which is like a rock opera. You have Ant-Man, which is a heist film with superpowers. You have Thor, which leans a lot on the mythology. So this is just a different version of that. It's just not all action.
Yeah.
And I think that's good because it's character backstory. The whole purpose of this series, for lack of a better term, is to give some more history and backstory on Wanda, give some more history and backstory on Vision, and then set them up for the future MCU movies. So we know that Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange, the next Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And again, spoiler alert if you hadn't seen the last episode, but we know that there's a new Vision now. And we know that
Vision might have somehow transferred his consciousness to him.
He unlocked, I believe unlocked the hidden memories in that Vision. So yeah, all in all, I mean, I really liked, and the thing I really liked about it, to me, honestly, KB, I know you said it has its detractors and whatnot, but to me, it's like it had you guessing. Because I think if you go back and listen to our last episode, I said that I think Wanda was the cause of all this, and she was going to end up becoming the villain at the end of this. That wasn't the case at all.
It looked like it. It really looked like it up until.
But that's what I'm saying. All of these things, and then people, I mean, if you are a casual fan and you didn't read too much into it or go into too much depth, Agnes, that could have been a surprise for a lot of people.
See, I was kind of expecting that one.
Well, I was to a point as well, but I was also reading all of that stuff. But again, when she said, I forget what episode it was, but it's right after Wanda has the twins, and she, let Agnes hold him, and then Vision decides not to. He says no, and then she goes, "Do you want me to? Do you want to go back? Do you want me to redo that scene?" Like, it's almost like she's aware of what's going on, and so that's when people could start putting some stuff together. But then it also harkens back to that first episode where Mrs. Hart, the boss's wife, is looking at Wanda, telling her to stop it. It's almost like she's coming out of that spell as well, at that point, or it's weakening there. So again, I think they kept you on your toes, unless you were doing like deep dives, and there's a ton of videos. I'll link to some of the show notes.
How about the crushing moment when she had to say goodbye to her family?
Yes. Well, okay. Let's put a pin on that real quick. Because I do want to say, I'm going to put some video links in the comments that there's a great, I can't remember the name of the channel, but he breaks down every single episode of WandaVision with comic references, all this other stuff. But yes, to your point, we'll get there in 1 second, but going back to the Agnes thing, even that Halloween episode where Vision supposedly, or in theory, unlocks her mind and she freaks out, that made me second guess. Maybe she's not a part of it. Because then she's like, "Oh my God, you're one of the Avengers. Are you here to save us?" Now, she was playing him the entire time because it was Agatha.
In that moment.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even in that moment. She was playing. She was acting. She was putting the pieces where she wanted them to be. Because
but in that moment, it gave you doubts.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It kept you on your toes, and it was just like, maybe she's not part of it. Maybe she is. I don't know. But yeah, let's fast forward to the end. So Agatha has been a witch since I think the 16th or 15th century, opened up in good old Salem, Massachusetts, with her at the stake, but not by a group of people thinking she's a witch, by her coven. By her coven that knew she was a witch, but she's been abusing the dark magic. And then they tried to take it from her, including her mother. And she is so powerful, she siphons the life force and the magics from all the other witches in the cover. And so she's been around since, I believe, the 1600s. Agnes or Agatha has been around since the 1600s. And she, I guess at some point in time, to tie it to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I haven't finished the entire series, but she finds the Darkhold, or she comes into possession of the Darkhold. Because then when she finally reveals herself as a witch to Wanda, she kind of lets it be known that let's before we get to the crushing goodbye, let's talk about the other big twist that happened. The special guest star that showed up on the doorstep. That was the kind of thing that sent a lot of people like flipping out, thinking, and again, talking about theories and going back and saying like, oh, this might happen. Everybody was thinking this is the theory, this is the format on how they're going to get mutants into the MCU by introducing this. Oh, Wanda's going to bring in the mutants, because we see that on the right before the Halloween episode, Vision realizes she's controlling everything. He starts fighting with her, but right before they can like kind of get to any type of resolution, the doorbell rings and it's Pietro. But it's not the Pietro we know. It's the Evan Peters Quicksilver from...
It is the Pietro we know.
Well, it's the other Pietro. It's not the Pietro from the MCU.
It's the Pietro we like better.
Well, that's debatable. We haven't really seen the other Pietro fleshed out. You're telling me that one movie, Age of Ultron, versus the cool little thing that our other Pietro did in Days of Future Past. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. We had a second movie to get to like Pietro. Actually, 3 of them, right? Because he did, or did he just do Days of Future Past and Apocalypse?
He didn't do the first one. I don't think.
No, he did. We're a little off topic, but he did Days of Future Past, where they go back to the past. They have to free Magneto.
Did Apocalypse,
and he did Dark Phoenix. So he was in 3 movies.
Okay, yeah, I forget about Dark Phoenix.
I think everybody would like to forget about Dark Phoenix, but
so much potential.
it was, and I still disagree with everybody, kind of not harassing, but harping on Sophie Turner. I think she did pretty good as Jean Grey. It's just she can't do an American accent that well, so I think that kind of affected some stuff. But I think
plus Fox threw it together with the whole Disney thing, and that really
still haven't seen the New Mutants, by the way. I need to check.
No, me neither. I heard it was awful.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I want to see it, because it's my two Stark girls. It's Sansa and it's Arya. Like they both play a different X-Man character or mutant. Anyway, getting back to WandaVision, we see Pietro, which is fake Pietro, as Agatha calls him, but it's her husband, quote unquote, that she's always talking about, Ralph, that she's put a spell on. And basically she made him in Pietro was recast. I don't know if recasted is a word, but it was kind of a cool nod where it's like, it kind of like shocked the viewer, and it was a cool surprise.
But it's also a disappointment, I think.
Why?
In the fact that I think people, like you said, were opening the door for the X-Men, thinking he might be the first one coming in, and to find out that it was just a spell by Agatha.
Had to take a water break right there. Sorry about that. Yeah, I can see what you're saying, but I still think that the MCU is going to find a way to bring him in.
Yeah, I think they will. But
I think we're probably, conservatively, I think we're a good 6 or 7 years away before we see any type of mutant movies. Because I think it's going to be Fantastic Four next. They're going to be, we got Doctor Strange, we got another Ant-Man coming out, we got another Guardians coming out, we got another
Captain Marvel,
Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel. I believe the Young Avengers are coming out at some point.
Are they going to find a solution to Black Panther?
Yeah, they're going to do a sequel to Black Panther. I think they are. But all in all, though, is what I'm saying is, so even think about that. That's at least 3 or 4 years worth of movies. Then they're going to do the Fantastic Four. So yeah, I still think you're a good, probably 6 years away before like an X-Men movie is even possible.
And not to mention anything they're working out with Sony.
Well, that's true too. Like, so we have another Spider-Man coming out too.
You got Morbius coming out and all that.
Morbius, yeah. So I mean, there's going to be a ton of movies to satiate. Plus, we still have Black Widow coming up.
Yeah, and that's been on hold
I believe
so
May
long.
5th is the new date. So we'll see. We'll see how that reacts with COVID, and it's all going to be on how things open up and how we as a country kind of continue. And if the numbers are going down, I think that'll be in the theaters. I'd like to see it on Disney Plus too, just because, we saw it with Wonder Woman 84. Like it's cool just to be in your house and just be like stream.
In all fairness, though, HBO Max wasn't charging for that film for the first month.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They only had it for 30 days. Now it's gone.
Yeah,
now it's off the streaming service.
They weren't charging for that.
Now
film.
you have to. But I'm saying you could do the same thing with Black Widow.
I would hope Disney would do that, but I don't.
I don't think so. They're gonna make their money in the theaters or try to.
They spend way more money than.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the CGI in Wonder Woman 84, which I think that was like my only really big downfall with the movie, is I thought the CGI was kind of like early 2000s instead of current times, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to WandaVision. So yes, Agatha Harkness, it was Agatha all along. That song hit the top of the iTunes charts. Agatha all along was the number one. Like it surpassed, like it beat like Justin Bieber and whoever else was on the top of that list that week. And like
the power of the Marvel universe.
I love it. And it's an earworm. It's a bop. I think I tweeted as soon as I saw the episode. I start work at usually around 7:30 in the morning, 7:30. So on Fridays, I'd get up at 6 just to watch the episode before I had to go into work. And I think I tweeted like that morning, like, okay, this song is going to be stuck in my head all day. And it's such an earworm and it's so good. And Catherine Hahn was so good as Agnes/Agatha. She was the highlight of the series for me. I absolutely loved her. But KB, let's get to your point. Let's get to the last episode. Just to kind of summarize, we were going through the decades for a while. We introduced Wanda's children, Billy and Tommy, which again, straight out of the comic books.
We didn't talk about Monica Rambeau.
Oh, we can talk about that too. Yeah, let's not go to the end yet. Let's talk about some of the other filler stuff and get to the end. But yeah, the new trinity of Marvel: Jimmy Woo, Darcy Lewis, and Monica Rambeau. Those are the new 3 power players in the.
Forget about Cap and Iron Man and Thor.
No, that's it. Those are the new 3. But yes, we did see that Monica Rambeau. Go ahead, KB, take it away. What do you want to say about her?
No, I remember, we saw Monica Rambeau as a child in Captain Marvel back in the 90s. And I remember saying to you coming out of the theater, I said, I bet you they're going to do something with this. And they did. Whether it goes any further than this, we'll see.
She's in the next Captain Marvel movie for sure. I
would think so. But, how I know she'd be in it, but I'm saying how much they expand on the character and the powers and all that.
Well, I think that's where we're going to because, you saw all the mid-credit scenes right at the end.
Yep.
So one of the Skrulls does visit Monica and says, hey, we heard you've been grounded. But before we get there, actually, let's talk about the scene, the first time we see Monica Rambeau outside of the WandaVision world.
Mm-hmm.
We see her waking up as Hulk undid the blip. He brought everybody back, or he undid the snap, whatever you want to call it. And people were rematerializing. She rematerialized in the hospital because 5 years prior, her mother had surgery to take care of a cancer, I believe. And she was being discharged that day when the blip happened, the snap happened, Monica disappeared. Her mother, Maria, did not. The cancer came back, and Maria died before she was able to see her daughter return. So that sets up Monica, because you can then surmise that when Monica goes back to S.W.O.R.D. and she meets, I can't think of the guy's name, Hayward, whatever his name is. He alludes to the fact that Maria was the one that created S.W.O.R.D. or founded S.W.O.R.D. or one of the founders of S.W.O.R.D. And that ties directly to the 90s with Captain Marvel, when Carol comes back and Maria learns that there are aliens and Skrulls and she's teaming up with them. So she may have created S.W.O.R.D. in answer to that. And maybe we'll expand on that a little bit later in the next Captain Marvel movie, because to your point, KB, Monica, once she kind of realizes the truth, is ousted out of the Hex, which is what we're calling Wanda's world, because she put up like a wall.
Yep.
And when she tries to re-enter, her DNA has been rewritten twice. So now I liken her to almost like Neo waking up to the Matrix. She can see all the different lights and the way things are being twisted. She can kind of control that world a little bit too. So that begs the question, does she have her own set of powers? And I'm not as familiar with her as Photon, I believe it was. She was Captain Marvel at one time in the comics, I believe back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, 70s,
Long time
80s.
ago.
But I think she then took the name of Photon, or I can't remember all her monikers. But yeah, so she's going to have her own set of powers. There was another reference in one of the episodes where Jimmy Woo, Darcy, and Monica were talking, and she was saying that Monica said that Wanda, because she's not known as Scarlet Witch yet, Wanda was the only one that was be able to take on Thanos one-on-one. And then Jimmy said, well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel could. And Monica's face dropped. So I think there's a falling out there, that there's going to be some animosity between the two on the next movie. Your thoughts?
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, maybe a little, but I think they'll get past it, whatever it is.
Maybe it's going to be something that maybe we'll come to find out, and I hope it doesn't.
There needs to be an answer. I mean, I think there definitely needs to be an answer.
I think it's going to be one of two things. Either Maria got sick and Carol never came to visit her, or it's because of Carol and the whole space program that Maria got sick in the first place. So she might actually blame Carol for her mom getting sick and dying. Those are just what I'm thinking. I don't know, the ins and outs of it, but because again, you want to talk about alluding to stuff. Maybe Maria was up in space and got some cosmic radiation.
Possible.
And maybe they're going to use Sword to introduce the Fantastic Four. That's a family of space travelers that get up there, they get lost.
Yep.
Now you got your makeshift Fantastic Four.
It's a good entry point. It's a good entry point.
But again, that's all speculation.
Yep.
But yeah, Monica was great.
Speculation's fun.
Speculation's a great time. But yeah, we see that so Wanda's being kind of almost manipulated because she's Agatha's trying to figure out why Wanda has this much power. She's a witch, which is kind of interesting because in episode 8, when you see that Stark missile hit, and Agatha explains it that Wanda was using a probability spell to prevent the missile from going off, where we thought, or we were led to believe, that it was the Mind Stone that gave the powers to.
Oh, I'll be talking about that. Talking about the missile.
But they alluded to the fact that Wanda always had those powers. She was always a witch. And that's another good scene in that same episode where she's basically volunteering for Hydra, and they open up the Mind Stone to her. We see the first time she ever did a quick cut with a camera, because she opens up, she looks at the scepter, the Mind Stone reveals itself, the scepter breaks apart, the yellow Mind Stone comes out. She sees a vision of the Scarlet Witch, the armor in that coming toward her, and then she faints. But when Hydra is rewatching it on the videotape from the security cameras, they see her walk up, and then they just see it like flash and blip, and then she's already on the ground.
They don't see
anything else. So it's almost like the Mind Stone took care of it after the fact. I just think that's a really cool thing.
No, it really is.
So there's still questions that need to be answered per se, but I just think it was just a really cool nod to all. It was a great tie back to all the major moments.
Curious to see where this new Vision fits in.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about the end, and let's talk about her saying goodbye to her family, because in episode 8, it also shows the start of her and Vision. She's in the Avengers compound. She's sad, and she's watching, I believe, Malcolm in the Middle. And Vision has a really nice talk with her. And one of the things he says, which I think it drew some criticism from viewers, but he said, "What is grief if not love persevering?" And I think that's a very beautiful sentiment. I think some people might misconstrue that, but the way I took it is saying, like, you're feeling all this grief, but all that sadness isn't a bad thing, because it means you loved somebody so much that you still love them to this day, and you're sad that they're not here. You still have that love for them, and that will never, go away. And that's some type of, I can't as eloquently state the way I'm thinking of it, but essentially that's what grief is. It's that you love something so much, and you still love it.
For her. It set the stage for her to make the decision.
Right. So then go ahead.
Which you can imagine must be a very difficult decision to make.
Right. So yeah, and then she had to destroy the Mind Stone, in Endgame. She gets blipped away, comes back, is back for like a week, goes to Stark's funeral, has a little talk with, I believe, Hawkeye. And then she goes to see Vision's body, which we discover also in episode 8. And we were told prior to that, and this is what we were led to believe, saying before, getting kind of, misled, for lack of a better term. We believed that she took Vision's body and she reanimated him inside the Hex. And we learned that's not the case. The body had been at Sword the entire time, and Hayward just made it look like, or manipulated the footage. He didn't even manipulate it. He just cut out the important parts. We see her breaking in. We see her shattering the window. We don't see anything else. But that's what he used to explain that she's the one that took Vision's body into the Hex, which was not the case at all. Sword had been taking apart and putting back together Vision, trying to bring him online. And it wasn't until Wanda came out of the Hex and threw that little drone with her magic still into it, that they used that to bring Vision back online, but they wiped his memory, and now it's an all-white Vision. Very, again, a nod to the comics, to your point, KB. It's not true to form as it is in the comics, but it's a living weapon with no moral compass.
But it might now.
Because then we see toward the end, Wanda, Vision, Billy, and Tommy were getting ready to fight Agnes. And once Agnes revealed, I keep saying Agnes and Agatha, we're going to replace that.
Yeah.
But Agatha revealed that, Wanda's basically trapping all these other citizens of Westview. And when they go to bed, they're living her nightmares. So Wanda decides to try to let down the town, but then she realizes Vision and her children will be erased if she ends the Hex, because she created them inside that world. But that opening allows all the splinter soldiers of Sword, who are loyal to Hayward and want to control the Vision. So it allows original Vision, the Sword folk, and Agatha Harkness now are 3 different enemies. So it lets Wanda give her kids. She told the kids to take care of the soldiers. Vision took on her version of the Vision, Hex Vision, if you will. And then Wanda and Agatha had a huge witch battle.
That was MCU epic.
And it was great. And we, again, tying back to certain things, we also saw that in an earlier episode when Agatha revealed herself, she told Wanda that Wanda couldn't use her powers because Agatha had cast runes in a particular area, which only the witch who cast the runes could cast spells there, and all the other witches were powerless. So then Wanda, throwing her magic at her, deliberately missing Agatha, was casting runes inside the entire Hex, so Agatha could no longer use her powers. And we'll talk about that momentarily. But to your point, we saw Hex Vision versus original Vision, and they did this whole combat, and then they stopped to have this philosophical talk right in the middle of it about and it was great because they were talking about a particular ship, and if the boards rot on a ship and you replace the boards, is it still the original ship? Or if you take the rotted boards, you take out the rot and you build a new ship from those boards, is that the original ship? So basically it's essentially saying neither one of them are the true Vision. So then Hex Vision tells OG Vision, they couldn't erase your memories. It's probably still there. They just probably hid them from you, or they didn't grant you access to them. So
we call him OG because he's not the whole Vision. Sword Vision.
Well, he is the original Vision, just without the memory.
Parts lies.
Right. But that goes back to the whole philosophical debate. So Hex Vision unlocks the other memories of the Vision. So now we don't have the Mind Stone in either Vision because the Mind Stone's been destroyed, but everything else, the personalities, everything else theoretically was unlocked, because if I'm not mistaken, Vision, when he was created in Age of Ultron, was part of the Mind Stone, part Tony, part Banner, part Jarvis. So now with the Mind Stone gone, is it just all those other 3 with those memories back? So it might not be the part that loves Wanda, because that you could make the argument that because she was affected and her powers were enhanced by the Mind Stone, maybe.
That question in and of itself is a great storyline to tease people with for years to come.
Right. We don't know. And going back to even some of our early episodes when we were in the first studio, you were talking about the Vision comic book where he has his own family. So maybe it's going to splinter into that, and that's going to be his own thing.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know, but we see a little bit later. So once the dust settles, so Agatha no longer has her powers being able to be used. So Wanda puts a spell on her to make her think she's the nosy neighbor Agnes. He basically traps her in there, and she takes all of the magic from Agatha. And Agatha is going to says, "You're going to need me because you don't know what you've unleashed." So she pulled all of the dark power, all the dark magic out of Agatha as well. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go, because we'll talk about one of the deleted scenes or the after credit scenes.
We also have Agatha still there.
Well, Agatha's still there, but now she's Agnes again.
Yep.
And she's going to just be that nosy neighbor because that's all she's going to know now. It's almost like mind control in a way.
Yep.
So yeah, but and Wanda even says that if I need you, I know where to find you. So Wanda takes off, but before she takes off, because we want to go back to some of the other stuff, Wanda needs to release all the citizens in Westview.
Mm-hmm.
So she ends up going home with Vision, with Hex Vision. And we should say that home, by the way, episode 8 was also something that Vision bought for Wanda for her to grow old in. So after she visits Vision's body in the Sword compound, she goes back and she sits in her car, and that's how she goes to Westview, New Jersey, because Vision bought that plot of land for her, for them to build a house and grow old in together. Which is again, well, I mean, this is still, we didn't know because I think it's for both of them, because theoretically this is,
no, I'm saying he's not going to grow old.
Oh yeah, right. But I mean, I think initially he bought it for the two of them.
Yeah.
Because he didn't foresee.
I'm messing with you, dude.
Don't. I can see you, and I still can't tell when you're messing with me. So knock it off. Going back to WandaVision, she brings the kids and Hex Vision home with her. They go back into their, black and white or their, home decor.
My wife was crying.
Yeah. Well, it was sad.
Touching.
So Wanda, like processing that grief, realized she has to let the Hex down, which means both her children and Hex Vision will be erased from existence. So we see her say goodbye to her children, and both her and Vision tuck them in, and she kisses them goodnight, kisses their foreheads. And then what broke my heart was, like, she went in the doorway and she said, "Boys, thank you so much for choosing me to be your mom."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that to me is like, that was heartbreaking. And then the scene she had with Hex Vision downstairs, and this is what was breaking my heart too, and I can't do it justice, but Hex Vision asks her, "I just need to know, what am I?" Because we see in episode 8 she created him, like it was almost the Mind Stone coming out of her. The piece, she said, it was the piece of the Mind Stone that she held on to, that maybe the piece that implanted itself in her way back in those Hydra days. So she basically said it was like her hope and her sadness, but mostly her love, that created that Hex Vision. So he says, "I've returned to you," for lack, again, paraphrasing, "but I've already died and come back to you. I've died and come back to you. I wonder how I'm going to see you again next time." And that gives me hope. Whether it's the Vision that we saw with his memories awakened, or if it comes through in another way. Maybe when he touched that computer and unlocked Norm's brain in one of those earlier episodes, maybe he's inside the internet and he can come back a different way. I don't know. I still think it's going to be the all white Vision, and then it will eventually get back to the Vision we know. But I think it's a very, very somber ending. And, she says goodbye to Monica, and she flies off. And that's how the series ends, with the exception of the two aforementioned mid-credits and post-credits scenes. So we already talked about the mid-credits one. One of the Sword soldiers talks to Monica, says they want to see you in the theater. Monica goes there. It's a scroll, says, "Hey, we got something for you up there that we need your assistance on." I think that's said.
Or didn't she say? Didn't she say, like, he needs to see you, like Nick Fury?
I'm assuming it's Nick Fury.
Yeah,
Or she said an old friend. It could be Talos as well.
Yeah, it could be either one of them.
I don't know, because again, I don't know if I think it was an old friend of your mother's, I believe she said, so it could very well be Nick Fury.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. And then we see the other one toward the end. We kind of zoom in. It almost gave me like an Endgame feel at the start of it, but not at the end of it. Where in Endgame we saw the end of credits of Endgame with the old house in the 40s
Thanos,
or whatever.
yeah.
With with the zooming in and Cap and Peggy are dancing. So, but it starts from that far end and it pans to the door and then into the window and then out. Well, this starts over a lake and it goes to a cabin, and it shows Wanda kind of being all solitary, and she's doing something in the kitchen, but then the camera goes into another hallway and then takes a right, and she's astral projecting herself reading the Darkhold. So is that the darkness inside of her? Is she going to have an astral form that's evil and leave her powerless? I don't know what that's going to make for Doctor Strange too.
I was thinking, maybe we'll see something else along the way before the Doctor Strange movie, whether it's a cut scene or something, an extra scene somewhere.
I'm trying to think, unless it's in Black Widow, but
maybe.
I don't know. Like, that would be interesting. But yeah, speaking of Doctor Strange 2, we know that, Wanda's going to be part of it, but we also know from the first movie, what was it? Mordo is still around, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Mordo?
Yeah.
Who was his buddy, and then he realized that it was all for naught. And he was like coming back and taking the magic from the people that don't deserve it at one of the end credits. So are we going to see him again? Are we going to see Dormammu again? Are we going to see Mephisto? Maybe Agatha's
Mephisto would be
part
nice.
of, and again, to tie it back to the comics. So originally, Mephisto's soul was split into 5 fragments, 2 of which went into Billy and Tommy. And then once they got erased, that went back into him. And then Billy and Tommy's souls, for lack of a better term, or their essences, were then reincarnated into 2 separate children born to 2 different sets of parents. So they still retain their memories of being Wanda's children, but they were born, and that's how we get the Young Avengers. And we know there's a Young Avengers coming out eventually. So we might have a Billy and Tommy. We can reference that. Maybe that'll happen in Doctor Strange too.
And we have a Kate Bishop coming for Young Avengers.
Haley Steinfeld is signed on to play Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. So all we need is an Iron
Lad and Hulkling
and the Patriot, right? Or some combination. They probably can't do a Hulkling. Probably still the Universal contract still holds, where they can't unless he's part of a team. So maybe you could, I guess. I don't know what's going to happen, but the future is bright. Not necessarily for 2020 and 2021 as far as socializing and being together and dealing with this pandemic.
Hey, these movies bring people together.
But again, I think now with us kind of getting over the hump, so to speak, of everything, and vaccines rolling out and people being able to, if the numbers keep going down, I think 2021, the back half of 2021, everything looks bright, man. And
it's like you said, we're starting to get over the hump, but it's really funny because a lot of people have had a lot of time to watch things. And a girl I work with in my group at our company, she never saw any of the MCU. She never saw any of it.
Did she marathon it?
She marathoned 8 movies in the weekend. She got from from the beginning, so Iron Man's first Cap.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did she watch them in order?
She watched she watched them in order. She's watching them in order. She got all the way up to I think Doctor Strange.
Okay.
So it's a good.
That's a good run. That's a good run.
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange is like the next movie, she said, or something like that. So, but 8 movies in a weekend, this situation of being indoors could be bringing more people to it because more people are paying attention to these things.
Oh, now people have more time,
Yeah.
and this stuff is out there.
And they won't again soon, but.
Right. But to your point, like, we're seeing, I think, not even a resurgence, but more of an acceptance, because I think different generations and different people are binging a lot of television shows. We talked about Peacock at the beginning. Peacock paid a boatload of money to get The Office back on, even though NBC owns it, but I think it had a deal with Netflix or whatever.
Yep.
It was the #1 stream show on Netflix. Now it's on Peacock. So people are still watching it, Yeah.
Yeah.
And people are just still discovering these shows, and so I think it's just safe that, for example, for me, there's another show that I want to stream and binge called Vikings that I've heard nothing but great things about.
My mother's boyfriend loved Vikings. He watched it from beginning to end. He said
And
it was amazing.
I don't have the time right now
Isn't
to do that.
Edge in that?
Edge is a recurring character in a couple of seasons, but yeah, like Vikings is really, really good. As far as comedy goes, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I've seen clips and I've absolutely loved it. I want to
seen
get
some
caught up on
episodes.
that.
Fun.
My buddy Chris keeps sending me stuff. Like, hey, you should check out this show. Hey, you should. And I'm like, I don't have the time to
Only
even
so many
binge
shows
right
you can
now.
watch. Yeah.
But
We've actually gone back on HBO Max and been watching Scrubs.
Nice. Yeah. I want to, I have a friend that every Friday, her and I, we kind of just like catch up on something. So we always binge something. So we binged Parks and Rec, The Office. We binged lots of Marvel movies. Like she's seen all that stuff, but we just binged WandaVision. Now I had to wait like until episode 8 to start it with her because, we spent the first like 4 hours, like, cause we usually hang out for like 4 to 5 hours on a Friday night, just whatever. So I'm like, I don't want to leave you hanging. Then we have to watch episode by episode, week after week. So let's start. Once episode 8 dropped, I'm like, we can watch episodes 1 through 5 now, and then do 6 through 9.
Yeah.
Don't
leave you
the next
hanging
week.
too bad.
Yeah. So it's good. It was good to catch up, but yeah, it's certainly fun. There was a lot of Easter eggs throughout WandaVision too. Like I said, I'll throw a link in the show notes description to a couple different YouTube videos. I'll post it on our For Your Geek Facebook page as well. But
not to mention, we have all these upcoming Disney shows too.
Well, there's tons. There's tons.
And it's funny because Disney Plus, it started out slow, but I have a feeling like now it's going to start to pick up with adding these shows. I mean, we got 3 Star Wars shows coming.
I think there's something like 9 though that they have on the.
But in recent,
there's
going to be like
I don't
3.
know the specifics of that. Yeah, I don't know that.
There's because there's going to be the new Boba Fett the new Boba Fett series. There's going to be the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, but those aren't the one. They're probably still years away.
No, Ahsoka's the end of this year, I think the end of this year. They're saying.
Okay, I'm gonna look.
Or
this
mid
up.
Next year. Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up while we're talking, but
but just to be fair, the Boba Fett show, you got the Ahsoka show, you got the Bad Batch that we talked about. We got, like you said,
okay.
Winter
So here we
Soldier.
go. Here we go. This is what it says. I'm reading this on. It's a USA Today article. I'm just gonna try to skim it real quick. Disney announced 9 new Star Wars series at Investor Day 2020, while the 10th new series was teased at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Each new series will debut on Disney Plus over the next few years. So the first one, it looks like it's going to be Obi-Wan, and that's going to start filming. That's going to start filming early 2021. So that's probably not going to be out till probably fall of 2021.
And Ahsoka maybe the next year, maybe the end of the next year.
And then the Book of Boba Fett, Rangers of the New Republic. That's going to be over the next few years. Andor, The Bad Batch, Star Wars Visions, Lando, The Acolyte, A Droid Story. So again, and they're going to do Rogue Squadron movie and an Untitled Taika Waititi project. So yeah, there's a lot coming. There's a lot coming out, dude.
And then you got the Marvel side of it, right? We have Falcon and Winter Soldier coming.
Yep.
Loki's supposed to be in June.
Loki in June, I believe, and then
June.
not Falcon.
Hawkeye,
and then What If, the animated series.
What If, and then Miss Marvel may be coming this way because she's supposed to be in Captain Marvel 2.
But that's not even filming yet. So once
they've teased the show. So
right, but what I'm saying is so we're talking. It's March of 2021 right now. Even if they start filming in April of 2021, that won't come out till 2022 earliest. And I don't even think that's the case. So I think, I'm thinking 2022, 2023 before we get Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel.
Well, the Captain Marvel movie, that's a while off. And plus there's Guardians 3 that's going to be in the works. And
there's tons of stuff. If you're a fan of either of these fandoms, whether it be the MCU or Star Wars, there's no shortage of material now.
No. No,
And-
definitely. There's something for everybody, which is kind of what makes it
Right.
so good.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks KB for jumping on, and let's thanks for reviewing WandaVision. We'll be back. Maybe we'll come back mid Falcon Winter Soldier after episode 3.
Yeah.
Because that's starting the 19th. So maybe we'll do something somewhere in the middle of that series and just discuss what we see so far. And it looks like there's going to be some interesting characters. Looks like Zemo's coming back.
Mhm.
Looks like we're going to get introduced to Echo, which I think is
Interesting.
kind of cool. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Look, this one, where WandaVision had a slow burn, with this being 6 episodes, I think it's going to be a little bit more pedal to the metal, a little bit more, hitting the road hard, and we'll see what happens, man.
I have a feeling this could be one of those espionage type movies.
Yeah, I think it's going to be either an espionage or straight up like total
Blow stuff
action,
up.
like Born Identity type thing.
Yeah.
So, or Mission Impossible, I think would be another good reference to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, well,
Hey,
thanks for
dude,
being.
but I was gonna say, but before we cut off, when are we gonna do a wrestling show, man?
We don't have to talk about that on the air. That makes me seem so amateur. We can do a wrestling
Sorry.
show, but we need to. I'm not stepping on the toes of the guys doing the Stone Cold.
I know you try to kind
podcast.
of.
That's maybe we'll do something. Maybe I'll set something up with them where we can. We'll have to pick a topic. Maybe do like a countdown, and bring JV and Mike Prue on.
Yeah, that'd be
And,
fun.
just do
That'd be fun.
do a little Zoom recording with them and have a little, almost like a Brady Bunch like square thing going on. Where we
That
can
would
all
be
talk.
fun. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
We'll have to do that and see how that plays out. But yeah. Well, KB, I'll be in touch. We won't talk about this on air.
Nope.
But till next time, KB, hit him with a catchphrase.
Get your geek on.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.